From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
What's up, world? It's the one and only Pop DBIC, the PrimeTime Capper, and I'm feeling good. I'm feeling great. It is Monday, and it's a beautiful day. It's the second, third week of the brand new year and everything like that. And we have ourselves, we have ourselves a playoff. We have ourselves a pretty good situation going on, and we had ourselves an excellent game to end the season last night as well too. One for the ages, as they would say. But you know what? It's Monday, and you know who I got with me? None other than the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson. Jeff, what's going on? How's everything going today, brother? I hope everything's good. I hope you're feeling good, feeling great, especially after that 12-4 weekend you had to close out your year with your NFL Bet Exchange picks.
What a way to end the year. You're right, 12-4, and that was with an 0-2 Saturday for Sunday, 12-2 for anyone that followed us. And that was with the 175 money line on the Niners to boot. As you would say, feeling good, feeling great. One hell of a year overall. You have the actual true numbers. I would have to say we had to be at least in that plus 35 unit category somewhere in there, and the year somewhere in there. But crazy finale of a game. I mean, everyone in the world before the game started was calling for a tie. The Chargers down 15. They had a dozen 4th and 8s, 4th and 9s, and they kept getting them. And they go for the 2-point conversion on the touchdown before and get it, then get the late touchdown. And then in overtime, exchange field goals and the timeout where Staley doesn't call the timeout. It looked like that the Raiders were just going to run it out, and both teams would have got in. And I'm telling you, right? Listen, the Cars had an amazing year. The whole team's had an amazing year. They lose, they fire Chucky Ruggs in the DUI accident. John Madden passing away. 3 weeks ago, left for dead. They win all 3 weeks, and then they win in Indy last week, and then they close it out with a win. Your MVP for the season is no other than John Carlson, your kicker. That guy is absolute money. He had 5 field goals yesterday, and he slipped one in on the 4th one. He smiled, but the guy has been money, and I'm excited. I think congrats on making the playoffs. Well earned, well deserved, and we'll be interested to see how they do against who they play again. I forget who they play.
They play Cincinnati.
Which is a great matchup, by the way, because, again, they don't get enough credit for how much pressure they put on a quarterback. And Herbert was hit, rushed, sacked, and it's going to be a hell of a game, Pops.
Well, I will have to agree with you on that. It was a hell of a game. It was something that I was really love the idea that this one went down the way that it did. It didn't go in the way that it was, it didn't end in no blowout like it usually does on a Sunday night game. I think that NBC really hit this one out the park last night as well too, and everything, the storyline, everything that led into the game was absolutely tremendous. I thought Max Crosby was absolutely the difference for the Raiders defense last night. But one thing I am going to say is I know that I was so ready to hand Staley his pink slip, but then when they said at the end of the night, that the Chargers connected on 6 4th downs, I said, well, his job is safe, because the thing is, even though they failed on that on their own 18 let me tell you something. I think if they scored a touchdown, it might be a little bit of different thinking this morning, but they only gave a field goal. And that's where I said that the Chargers actually had their way with the Raiders offense yesterday. It was the penalties that kept the Raiders in the game in reality. So, you know, it was a hell of a game, but I just feel so bad for a great team like the Chargers that I looked at and I said that the Steelers and the Raiders get in, but when you really look at the rosters and look at, you know, who has the best offenses in that group and who has the defense that you could really put your cap on. And the Chargers are better than both these teams in reality, but thing is though, they just keep holding themselves back. They're just they're 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. You know what I mean? And I just don't know when it's going to get fixed, but hopefully it gets fixed by next year, because I know one thing, Mr. Herbert, if you didn't know who he was before that game last night, you definitely know who he is now, because that guy was the talk of the night. And even with the Chargers losing, everybody said that was the best player of the night and the most exciting player to watch. And as I keep telling you guys, that is John Elway reincarnated. I don't care what anybody says. He's a Pac-12. He's a Pac-12 guy. You know, comes from a little smaller town and things of that nature. He's not from California like John was, but I think that the coolness and the way that he goes about the game, especially when they got that tying touchdown to send it into overtime, 2 seconds, and he fires this thing in there. And this is 3 guys were around Mike Williams, and he got it in there. And I'm just like, okay, all right, this is, you know, you guys can talk about this, that, and the third till you're blue in the face, but this guy right here is one of those guys. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys. And when you say, I don't like when they try to put people in the Hall of Fame 5 games in, you know what I mean? But you can go ahead and start talking a little Hall of Fame talk for Mr. Herbert, you know what I mean? Because that guy is going to break a lot of passing records if he stays healthy, because the thing is, he got beat up a lot last night as well too, but he's tough. He's really, really tough, and that's what you like the most about Herbert. And if you're a Charger fan, you might have your most favorite quarterback of your lifetime of rooting for that team when it's all said and done as well too, even over Dan Fouts. And I know they never liked Phillip Rivers, so it is what it is.
You know, yeah, I was going to ask our buddy Craig Medeiros, Mr. Craig Remedy, if you were starting a franchise today and you had first pick at quarterbacks, who would your quarterback be? Meaning, I wanted to know how many quarterbacks would get taken over Herbert. I mean, you're not going to take a Brady. You're going to take a 37-year-old Rodgers. The young guns obviously are Mahomes, Allen. I was just kind of curious, you know, the Kyler Murrays of the world, how many guys or GMs would actually take it over Herbert? And I'm telling you right now, if I was starting a franchise today and I had first pick of quarterbacks, I'd take Herbert. That's who I'd take.
Yep. And you know what? I said that when he was getting picked, because he showed me everything in that Rose Bowl. That was a tough game to win against a tough Wisconsin team that's like an NFL defense. Let's keep it real, because that defense is what you expect when you play against some of the better defenses in the NFL. And he went ahead and he led a monster comeback in Pasadena that day. And I think that was what solidified him, because even the guy that Washington had, who plays for the Colts now, you see, I can't even remember his name right now, because I thought they were 1 and 2, to be honest with you. And I thought that they were, you know, pretty much same skill level. But when you really break down the tape, Herbert was just lights out, 4-year starter in college as well too. That's tough. You see, everybody thinks that that's an entitlement. It's not. It's just really, truly not. To be a starter as a true freshman, that takes a lot of skills and that takes a lot of talent as well too. These guys are super talented. That's why they're getting a start right away. It's not that, you know, that they have to do it. You know what I mean? So pretty much you had that working out for them. So when it comes all down to it, even Burrow is really good. But I think when it comes down to it, when you compare the two, I could take Herbert, because I know that Herbert can make it work with almost nothing. You know what I mean? Burrow has a lot of compliments. You know what I mean? Those 3 receivers that he has are awesome. You know what I mean? But I know you're going to say, well, you know, Herbert has Keenan Allen, he has Mike Williams, he has this, that, and the third. But let's just say put him on Houston, though, real quick. This year's Houston. I think he could have him and Brandon Cooks could have did the same thing that Stafford and Cooper Kupp did this year. You know what I mean? And you could have had a team win 7-8 games because that's what type of quarterback he is. He's the type of quarterback that gets you more wins because who he is and how he plays the game, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Well, he brings excuse me, he brings something to the table that not a lot of these quarterbacks do. In regards to, he's got I think a better, stronger arm than a Kyler Murray. Well, Kyler's got better wheels, but my fact of the matter is, go back in his tapes in Oregon. Herbert can run. He can run. So when you compare Herbert to Burrow, the one thing that I think Herbert has that Burrow doesn't have is when the play goes down or he's got to escape the pocket, Herbert can get the first down. He can run for 10, 15, 20 yards if needed. Again, Burrow has a complement of weapons that is just one for the ages. I mean, I think the 1-2-3 punch, I'll put it up against anyone in the NFL right now. I'll take my chances there. Burrow's going to be good. And listen, I don't want to drag this conversation on, but the fact of the matter is, for years upon years, the Charger fans bitched and yelled, screamed, and holler about Anthony Lynn. Well, I don't think Anthony Lynn was the problem, was he? Because just look what happened to Staley. You got this kind of quarterback. The teams that are in the playoffs right now have great coaches and great quarterbacks. Okay. You have a great quarterback in San Diego. I'm sorry, in LA with Herbert. You don't have a great coach. So I don't think they'll blow the ship up over this. But I mean, if you look back, how many games that they were right there at the wire and lost? Was it because of Herbert? No. Was it because of the coaching staff? Most likely.
And this is my last point on the Chargers and Anthony Lynn. I would say this about Anthony Lynn, to be honest with you. I think that what happened was he was handcuffed to Phillip Rivers' twilight years. And he asked the organization not once, but twice, could they move on from Phillip Rivers? And they said no. And then when they moved on from him, they moved on from Phillip Rivers. And that's just, I don't think that they ever gave him the real opportunity to really move on from Phillip Rivers. You know what I mean? And so pretty much they didn't give him a chance to let him have his own quarterback. Because when he showed that, hey, let me throw somebody else in here, it was Tyrod Taylor, and he got him some good wins at the end of that year. You know what I mean? And then he gets Herbert back, and I think that's what really probably did him in, is that he didn't have the utmost confidence in Herbert from the start. You know what I mean? He was more as like, okay, he's going to be a rookie. He's going to sit. He's going to learn on the job. But he's a Peyton Manning type. He's a John Elway type. He doesn't have to sit on the bench and learn anything. He's a quarterback. That's what he does. You know what I mean? He doesn't have to learn nothing. He's been a 4-year starter in college. There's the transition is here. I understand with the Tuas of the world, with Joe Burrows of the world, because they only played 1 year as a full-time starter. This guy was a full-time starter for 4 years. You don't need to see how he's going to get with the game. No, you just throw him out there and see what he can do, because he's already shown that he has the experience to be the man. And that's exactly what he did from game one on. And I just feel that they just looked at it and said that we don't want you holding the quarterback back. But when you're making those type of play calls Staley's making, you're holding him and the whole team back. And you went from being a 12-5 team to being a 9-8 team and out of the playoffs.
Seriously. Well, and here's the problem too, the analytics. And the fact is, again, he went for it on his own 18 and he gave up the field goal. Okay, again, these coaches, and he's one of them spearheading this, is the fact that he's gone strictly to that. He's not using his guts, his eyes. The rest of the team, he's going strictly by that note card. And it cost his team. It cost his team a chance to go to the playoffs. And so here's where I was going to end it here with Pops. What's Andy Reid got? 2, 3, 4 more years? Maybe if they win the Super Bowl, maybe he goes out. I don't know. Okay. Denver's looking for a coach. The Raiders, I don't know. They made the playoffs. Are they going to give that guy that's the interim coach the job? Probably not. My point is, if you're the Chargers with Herbert and what you have today, you got to look in the mirror and say, do I believe in Staley? If not, shit and get off the pot. It's time to pounce on your franchise coach now, not next year or the year after, because the rest of the division is searching for coaches. We know Andy Reid's got Bieniemy. If he hangs around, I think Bieniemy will be gone. Okay, so here's my point. And I listen, I don't love the guy, but look what Brian Flores did. I'm shocked he got fired. Shocked.
We'll get to the coaches in a second,
Oh,
and
but my
that's
question to you is: would you rather have Staley next year coaching the Chargers, or would you rather have Flores coaching?
well, I'll be dead honest with you. I think that I know that Staley's is not doing the greatest job in the world with decision making and things of that regard. But I think that if you give him another year and let him just go back, breathe a little bit, look at the mistakes he's made, and see if he can fix these mistakes. Because I think that they got off to a 4-1 start. You know, that was a pretty good look for a brand new coach. And you know what? They seemed like they played with a bit more confidence. And then they won those games that you knew that they could have struggles in, but they proved themselves, like against your Bengals. You know what I mean? Like where they go out there and they have a gangbusters game and look just like they look like the best team in the NFL. They just had to be consistently like that every single week. I say you go ahead, just give them one more season. And I'm going to give you my reasons of why I think they moved on from Flores as well, too, once we get to Black Monday, though. You know what I mean? But I would say this: if you had to swap coaches, it wouldn't. To me, it's not. You're literally damn near getting the same coach. Just one's more into being analytical, and one into being more of a throwback. You feel what I'm saying? And so, but they're both young and they both are energetic. And I think that the type of motivation that they bring to the locker room is contagious. That's what you want out of your head coaches in today's NFL, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? You want guys that have the energy and that can relate to the guys. You know what I mean? So these older coaches like Pete Carroll and Bill Belichick, they're more, well, Petey Boy is more like a good old principal, but Belichick is like the general. You know what I mean? He's like, he's SS Patton. He comes in the room. He's not your buddy. You know what I mean? Hey, how you doing? He doesn't care about all that. You know what I mean? Belichick just cares about if you know that the inside blitz that you missed that block. You know what I mean? That's all he's worried about. So, we got a lot of guys that are still kind of feel learning on the job. They might not be as seasoned enough to be head coaches yet, but they have good sales jobs. You know what I mean? They're selling themselves very well to these owners, and these owners are seeing that as well too. And then you know what? They just go through the mill as they always do. But let's go ahead we're going to get into that in one moment, but let's just jump into the CFP real quick. Jeff, real quick, what are your thoughts on this one, man? CFP Final. It's something that we knew about probably from the second week, the season, that it was going to be Alabama and Georgia. I think that this is my point. I'm just going to let you take the floor on it because I don't have much more to say about it. I'm going to say this. I have my bets here at the end of the show, so you guys will see that. But my thing is like this. I'm tired of the conference on conference national championship. I don't want to see that. You know what I mean? I know that we can do that in the Sweet 16. I mean, in the Big 64, the big dance in college basketball. That makes sense because those teams went through their brackets and earn the right to get there. I just feel like when you lose your conference championship at this point of the year, and we only have 4 teams, you don't get to come to the Final Four. I'm sorry, you just don't. You have to win your conference championship as well too. But I know the SEC's big dollars. I know this is that and the third, and it wouldn't probably be even that exciting if you didn't have 2 SEC teams, right? But at the end of the day, I don't care to keep seeing these these schools play each other from this conference. I just really don't, Jeff.
Well, I mean, we did know that Georgia was the best team in the regular season. We know that Georgia didn't have to even show up to the SEC championship because they were already in the tournament. Didn't matter if they lost by 100. They were already in the Final Four. So as I've been on your shows many a times, I'll just re-say this one more time. In August, had Georgia plus 800. In week before the Clemson game, Georgia plus 600. Tonight, I'll go back to the SEC game. I thought the sense of urgency, the must win, obviously was Bama. They had to win to get in. I think Georgia obviously wanted to beat them, but they didn't show their true hand. A defense that had allowed no one more than 17. They allowed 40 to Bryce Young, the Heisman Trophy winner. you're going to see a total different Georgia team. Now, with that said, Stetson had a career game against Michigan. I don't expect him to have that against Bama. I like Bama here. I like Georgia here. I think they get out early. I think their defense shines. I mean, Vegas is telling you initially that the score is going to be 27-24. I also have a ticket for Bama team total under 24.5. But I'm definitely rolling with Georgia. It looks like Mattress Max got about 4 million on the Bama money line. The public is all in on Bama. I mean, it's a free bingo square. We know who's your daddy. He owns Georgia. He owns Kirby Smart. But with that said, they're eating up the +3 and the +125 on the money line. We're zigging and they're zagging. We're all over Georgia today, Pops.
I love it. I love to hear that. So yeah, my thing is pretty much I'm just gonna be with the public. I'm not betting against Nick Saban as a favorite. I mean, not as a favorite, but as a dog. But my thing is more about defense tonight. I really like the scoreboard more than anything. I don't care who. Honestly, at the end of it all, I'm picking a side, but I don't care who wins. But I wouldn't mind seeing Georgia kind of switch this thing up a little bit and get their turn. You know what I mean? But they're gonna have to earn it though. It's not gonna come easy at all. And I think that they're gonna have to play their greatest game ever in school history, Jeff, tonight to really win this one, man. And Bama's played their greatest game in school history like 1,500 times. So it's different. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But let's get into the Black Monday. Black Monday. Oh my goodness, it's Black Monday. And Black Monday, man, we've had Miami fire Brian Flores. We already knew that Chicago was moving on from Matt Nagy, but this isn't a surprise to me, but it could be a surprise to a lot of people in the football world, in the NFL universe. But Mike Zimmer was fired as well, too, by the Minnesota Vikings. And I said that, you know what, that's about 2 years overdue. I like Mike Zimmer, too. But I think that I was surprised Mike Zimmer wasn't fired last season, to be honest with you. And he was fired this year because they simply just said, you know what, enough is enough. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it's not about you. It's just that we're not moving anywhere with you as the coach. But that's where you have to respect the Minnesota Vikings at how they respect their head coaches. They always seem to give head coaches at least a fair shake for a good amount of time because they've actually wound up having coaches that have been able to be successful. Minnesota is one of those teams in the NFL that you can say to yourself, you know what? They haven't had a bad 20 years. When have they really had a bad season in 20 years? You know what I mean? Not meaning that they've had winning season every year, but when have they had a season where they went 3-13? You know what I mean? So that's why they've been able to have these coaches stick around for a little while and things like that, but they still keep taking them to the same place, nowhere. So pretty much, I think they just needed a fresh face, a fresh voice, because I think they're moving on from the whole situation at hand. They're going to build this thing around Dalvin Cook. They're going to go into the draft and find themselves a cheaper option at quarterback. And then they'll just go ahead and build this defense back up and build that offensive lineup. And then there'll be a slow build, but there'll still be a team that's going to be middling at the same time, too. That's what I'm looking at when I look at Minnesota when making a move like this. Now, before you take the floor, I'm just going to get on Flores because we don't need to talk about Nagy. We already shredded into Nagy weeks ago when he had his issue with Justin Fields starting. So I feel Brian Flores got fired because things like this. I don't think that he was getting along too well with the upper management, with the front office. I think they wanted him to do one thing and he was doing the other. You know what I mean? And I think the death pin was not believing in Tua or going along with the plan of not playing Tua, but then throwing Tua into the game anyway. And pretty much what he did was he was able to prove to all of us that Tua is a feasible quarterback. He's not going to be a quarterback that you can look to and be like, oh, he's doing what Herbert and Burrow are doing, but he's a gamer. He's a gamer. He's a winner. You know what I mean? That Steve Young mentality of where whatever it takes to win a game. You know what I mean? So, I think that was what the problem was. And when you lose 7 in a row and you win 7 in a row, and then when you play against the team, then when you play in a game where it's a prove it to me game, like the Tennessee game, they absolutely got the floor waxed with them. You know what I mean? Yeah, they beat the Patriots this year, but the Patriots don't have Tom Brady anymore. You know what I mean? And it's just that's just the simple fact about that situation. The Patriots and the Dolphins are going to be splitting every year now. You know what I mean? That's happening again, So, and I looked at the all-time record. The Dolphins do own the all-time record against the Patriots as well, too. Even though they got their butts whooped for the last 20 years, it took them 20 years to catch up with them. You know what I mean? The Patriots. So it is what it is at the end of the day.
We were talking prior about the West. The West, Fangio getting fired, and what are the Raiders going to do? The same thing just happened there in the NFC North. Is the fact that we knew Nagy was gone, so it's the right time for Zimmer. In other words, it's almost one of these. The Vikings looked in the mirror and says, "Listen, we're not going to win until Rodgers is gone." Now they're hoping that he jumps ship and he goes somewhere else where they'd have a fighting chance. Okay, Rodgers owns the North, the NFC North. I mean, I've been against them the last 3 years, and they've won 13, 13, and 13. I think they're like 2 and so the Bears got a nice young quarterback. Okay, they have a young receiver with Mooney. They have a young running back with Montgomery. They need work on the offensive line. They need work on the defense. So it's time to start over. Minnesota's got Dalvin Cook. They got a great superstar wide receiver with Jefferson. They have a good possession receiver with Thielen. Their front line, their O-line needs some work. They got a great backup guy, Madison, as well. So their defense also needs work. So the point is, it's time. It's time. And not enough of these teams, they look at their insides, Pops, and they're not getting where they want to, but they're not looking at the landscape of their division. Okay, so it was time. Like you said, Zimmer should have moved on 2 years ago, but they held on to Zimmer because they spent all that money on their quarterback. Cousins is not the answer. Cousins can get you maybe to the playoffs at 9-7. Actually, now it'd have to be 10-7. You know what I mean? They're not going to win the division, though. So I agree with what you're saying. So where do they go, though? Always remember this: when you're firing your head coach, who are you bringing in? I hope you're bringing in someone better. It's not speculation. Rumor has it, excuse me, and I keep bringing up Flores and the Dolphins, but I'm just going to say this. Rumor has it Harbaugh to Miami. So if the owner had a wink and knew he was getting Harbaugh, I said this on my show today at the Breakfast Bankroll. Well, why don't you ask Nick Saban how that went when he left college and came over back to the pros, and the fact that he didn't take Drew Brees and he came running back to the college level. So have a plan. Hey, I can fire you today, but have a plan. Don't forget, you're going to be in now with 6, 7, 8 other teams, all looking for that next shiny toy. So it's not that easy.
Hey, you know what? I had to go ahead and agree with you on that, Jeff, wholeheartedly. And just one quick part about Fangio. I thought that Fangio really kind of might have been a one and done type of coach because it didn't go to the hype that it was supposed to be. I remember he came in, he's a big time defensive coordinator, and Von Miller is going to be much better because he's going to bring this coach in and blase. But I said that the best Broncos teams you ever seen are the ones that have offensive-minded head coaches, the ones that are the play-calling head coach and things of that nature. They've probably tried to bring in a few defensive coaches over this last 20 years or so, and all those coaches ended the same exact way. You know what I mean? They with middling teams that, looked really bad at the end of the year. But I would say this, the Broncos played above expectations, in my opinion. And really that was a surprise firing in a sense because he was kind of crippled by not having a consistently top end quarterback, which you need to have in the AFC West at the end of the day to be in the division. You know what I mean? They got one division win simply because they didn't have good quarterback play. It's that simple. They should have split with the Raiders. We both know this.
Well, you brought up some great points there is the fact that you brought up Von Miller. They brought in a defensive coordinator. And where is Von Miller right now?
In LA.
Okay. So there's strike number one. Some of their key defensive guys were hurt. Denver Broncos, Super Bowl champs, two quarterbacks, John Elway and Peyton Manning. John Elway had Terrell Davis. Okay. I'm going to tell you right now, Denver had a hell of a dynamic duo this year with Javonte Williams. And no one talks about Melvin Gordon. What a year Melvin Gordon had. And people are talking in the fantasy world, hey, you got to get rid of Melvin Gordon so Williams can have the ball 80% of the time. Williams was as good as he was because he had Gordon. So if you want to go to a 60-40 split next year, fine. You need to rest the legs. You need to come in with fresh legs. That was a great dynamic duo. What got Vic fired again was quarterback play. Bring over Bridgewater. Bridgewater gets hurt. Luck's not the answer. So John even has left the big building because why? He could not find another quarterback. The only way they won another Super Bowl was bringing Peyton Manning over. And again, they got their pants taken down. Why? Because at the number 9 pick, they had Justin Fields there. They didn't take him because they thought they had Aaron Rodgers. So unless Aaron Rodgers jumps to Denver next year, that 9th pick, which should have been Justin Fields, the Denver Bronco, is going to come up and blow up in their face.
And I'm going to be dead honest with you. If you are Rodgers, Denver is attractive. It really is, because you know that you can do something in the division. Even though you got the Chiefs there, you know that you got a defense that's better than the Chiefs defense at the end of the day. They just need you to lead them. That's it. And that's all. All right, let's move on. Talk about the NFL playoffs real quick. And it's all good. What a night last night. We talked about it, but now we got the playoffs, and I know Jeff's excited because Jeff, first thing we text about in the morning was the first matchup we saw was the good old rivalry that's between the Cowboys and the 49ers. And let me tell you like this, that's going to be the game of the weekend. It's going to be the most talked about game of the week. It's going to be the most talked about game of the weekend. It's going to be the most talked about game on Monday as well too, because these two teams really truly do hate each other. These fan bases hate each other as well too, but these guys have been a part of some of the greatest games that we've seen in the playoffs ever. So this is going to be another good old scrap between the Cowboys and the 49ers. Bang, bang, shoot them up. You know how it goes, Jeff. So I like the way that Dallas's defense is coming into this game. And I know Jimmy G had a game for the ages yesterday with the partially broken thumb, and was still able to win the game yesterday and all that good stuff. But I really felt like the Rams were just over there doing way too much. The Rams were like the guys that they were like this. They were the guys that when you're playing basketball in a game, they're throwing alley-oops up the first 10 minutes of the game, bumping chest and slapping five and all this other stuff. And then the game settles down. And all of a sudden, they're not getting the fast breaks and the slam dunks and all that stuff anymore. Now you got to sit down and play half-court offense, and you're not really good at doing that. And then when you look at who their quarterback is, and I keep going back to this. I don't even know why I'm smiling right now about it, because I'm so right about it. Matt Stafford is a guy that is tough to trust. He still has that Detroit type of attitude towards games where you just fully don't lead your team to the victory. Like, seriously, without Cooper Kupp this season, Matt Stafford would be really – it would really be all about the defense. You know what I mean? Cooper Kupp has really been such an aid to him this year. And then bringing in OBJ has made things a little bit easier as well, too. But Matt Stafford is the end-all, be-all of why this team is either winning or losing at the end of the day. And when they lose pretty bad and pretty significant. It's pretty significant as well, too.
Looking at, the brackets, and of course, low seeds move. In other words, if we'll use the 49ers for example. If the 49ers pick off the Cowboys and, let's just say the Bucks hold on to the Eagles, the 49ers got to go to Lambeau. That Rams loss solidified the fact that, if they had won, they would have been the number 2 seed. Looking at these brackets, the Eagles are playing good, don't get me wrong, but I don't expect them to beat the Bucks. 49ers, you can say what they want, down 17-0 by preseason pick to win the NFC. Jimmy G banged up, found a way to come back. I like the way that they're rounding into form. I think they're going to be able to run the ball pretty good against the Cowboys. It's going to be the best game in my eyes on the weekend. I today currently think that that line opened at 3, went right to 2.5. I think the Niners can pick them off and then probably end up going to Green Bay. Listen, we know the Cardinals. They're great as a front runner, and they're great on the road. So I think they match up well against the Rams there in the AFC. Listen, the Pats, I don't think will win round 3 against the Bills. I expect the Chiefs to handle the Steelers. Opened at 11.5, now 13. And the Bengals and the Raiders, as high as I am on the Bengals, Joe got his knee banged up right before the end of the last game. The Raiders have now won 4 in a row. They believe they're going to be able to run the ball. I think if the Raiders are able to put pressure on Joe, they got a good shot at putting that game pucks.
All right. I like it. And my whole thing is like this. I know it's going to sound like I'm being a real whatchamacallit right now as well, too. But I know it sounds like I'm being a real big, juicy hater on your Bengals, and I'm not trying to toot the horn on the Raiders or anything like that, but I'm sorry, I don't trust the Bengals coach in this situation at all. And I think that Joe Burrow is still hurt from that was a significant injury. Come on, dude, he didn't even finish the game that day against the Chiefs. So that's going to linger into this next game as well, too. And then the playoffs are much different from the regular season, but these are both two kind of green teams going into this situation as well, too. But we know that the Raiders have some guys that played in the playoffs, and we know the Bengals have had some guys that played in the playoffs as well, too. So all in all, the thing is we have ourselves a very, very good look at what everything should be moving forward. So when we look at the game that's going to wind up being the finale game, I think the Rams are absolutely going to crush the Cardinals Monday night, to be honest with you, Jeff. No offense to Kyler Murray or any of those guys, but I just think that they're going to get overwhelmed by the playoff atmosphere in a sense, because I don't think that they didn't really pass the test very well here in the second half of the season. This is a team that was 8-2 to go into the bye, and then they wind up finishing up at the end of all that 3-4. It wasn't even 3-4. I'm sorry. They finished up 3 and what 3 and well, I wouldn't say was it 3 and 4. It was 3 and 5 actually. So
they started 7-1. So
7-1, yes, 7-1.
So they were 4 and 5 their last 9.
Yeah, 4 and 5 their last 9. You just things can't work like that. So I think that Kingsbury could be on the hot seat as well too. To be honest with you, I know I've been saying that for like the last few years, but I think that it's real now. You know what I mean? If you're the front office, you know that the writing's on the wall. You got your quarterback coming back to the sideline angry every single time that things don't work out because of bad play calling. And then you start looking up and seeing that, damn, we're just like Texas Tech, but we're in the NFL. Texas Tech used to get out to 6-7-0 starts and then lose their last 4 out of 5. You know what I mean? So it's just the same pattern with this coach. And it's just, back to college for you, buddy. Houston University is waiting on you. Back to SMU, Arizona State, UNLV. Just get the hell out the NFL because you're not cut out for this league. That's me. But that's me, though.
Well, and I tell you, the Rams, listen, there's no doubt that they can make some headway here in these playoffs. That loss yesterday is going to sting, though, because let's just say the chalk wins. So Bucks win, Cowboys win, Rams win. So instead of facing the Packers in the finals, you got to go to Lambeau Field now and face the Packers while the Cowboys would head over to the Bucks. So I think Stafford can handle the big stage. I think their defense can too. Amazing. It's an interception by Ramsey last night where the 49ers initially were about to go up top. Great pick there. I haven't heard the name Donald lately. And I'm not saying he hasn't been a force or nothing. I think that they're going to win on the defensive side. Sony Michel's look great. They're trying to bring Akers back as well. OBJ, Cup has just had a year for the ages. Donald and Stafford. Don't let Stafford make mistakes. Win on the defensive side. Like, hey, boy, if you win the turnover battle, especially in the playoffs, you got a good chance of winning, Bobs.
Yes, sir. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. We're not going to take no commercial breaks today because I'm going to move through this NBA pretty quickly. But Jeff, all in all, real quick, Big 12. What do you think this is the toughest conference in the nation right now? I'm going to let you take the floor on this one because I think that they are, to be honest with you.
If you're looking at the rankings right now, I could say, yeah, a big fan of Baylor. Huge fan. I like the Kansas team this year. I think as the season progresses, this team's going to be dangerous. We went against Texas on Saturday and won there. They're going to take some seasoning. They're not that athletic this year. They're big, they're strong, but against a finesse, more athletic team like a Baylor, they're going to get exposed. Texas Tech is risen from the dead. 2 big wins here, and they got us good. Actually, they did lose at Iowa State, but they did cover on a 40-foot double clutch bank shot, but that's for another story. Big win over the weekend. Iowa State's come out strong. Listen, I'll match my Big East against your Big 12 there. I know, like I said, Baylor is up there. Kansas is there. Nova rounding into form, but I know we're talking Big 12. I like them. I think they're strong. If you ask me which conference will go further, I guess I would have to lean Big 12 because of Baylor and Kansas, but who's stronger and longer, I would say Big East.
And I think Texas is going to have some say because they have a new leader in Chris Beard who's really good, went to the national championship game a few years back. And I think that they're going to turn the corner because I love Shaka, but Shaka wasn't ready to be a coach for the University of Texas. I think that what happened was that he jumped to a big program before he was ready to jump to a big program. I think being at VCU gave all of us this idea that he was ready to do that, but VCU was more of a, let's go ahead and do this, guys. You know what I mean? I'm young, I look young, y'all look young. Let's all get together and do some things. But when you're in the state of Texas and you're recruiting some of the better players in the nation, you have to make sure you get the really, really good ones. You don't get guys that went to 4 or 5 different high schools and, you know, they went to all these preparatory schools and all this other stuff, and they're so quick to leave somewhere. But he did do his job. He did put a lot of guys in the NBA as well, too, as he was there. But they already had their NBA grade from when they were in high school. You know what I mean? So, you know, I think that him going to Marquette, that should have been where he jumped to next. And it kills me that Marquette got rid of Chris Collins as well, too. The old what's his name? That used to be my boy Duke. That used to be Coach K's guy, the old Marquette coach, and he had a good little system going on and everything. But I just think that he was a little bit too strict for them, and I think that's why that was his end over there as well too. Because some of these college coaches are abusive, dude. Like George Washington had a really good coach a few years back. They had to can him because they found out how bad he was in practice, and they actually won the NIT with this coach, from what I remember, or they were in the final. Remember that, Jeff, when George Washington made a big run to the NIT final, and that coach they wound up firing him like 3 months later because they found out he's like throwing basketballs at guys in practice and, you know, trying to do the Bobby Knight stuff. And, you know, it just wasn't good. So it is what it is.
Well, getting back, Shaka's got Marquette playing great ball. You know, I do agree with you. Some coaches are able to take the next leap. They're not a deer in a headlight, but to go from VCU to Texas. And you see the same thing with the football coaches going to Texas. There's something about Texas that they just can't make it work. I mean, Tom Penders was there for a long time. You know, great regular season, couldn't do it in the postseason. And Rick Barnes, same thing.
Yes.
Get to the dance. And then listen, there comes a point where getting to the dance is not enough. Okay. And I'll take it from what I'm starting to hear some rumblings. Coach Hurley now for UConn is now in his 4th year. It takes a couple of years to clear out the trash, to bring your guys in. It takes you a couple of years to season and move on. Now with the portal, it makes it even,
What happened? You
It
good?
was it was starting to talk to me, and I'm like, and the point is that now we're expected not just to compete in the Big East. We know Nova's the team to beat. Providence came in and beat our, you know what? We got a rematch Saturday with them at Providence. But the point of the matter is, you can't win those close games, even though you got a player out, another player out. The point of the matter is, there comes time where the fans get a little itchy. Hey, you're a big time coach. You're getting paid well. You're supposed to bring us to the promised land. You get to the dance and then you're one and done. You know, that's why the Sweet 16 so special. Why you got to the dance, you made it through the first weekend, then you take the next step. Oh my God, we're in the second weekend. Oh my God. That you got to take those leaps. You can't let down the fans, I guess is where I'm going with this, Pops. That's all.
Yeah, man. I'm telling you, and it is what it is. And little brother is pretty much. I think he's out the door over there at Arizona State because
Oh my God.
they can't be keeping the idea that just because he's Bobby Hurley that he's good for the job. I think Bobby Hurley's another coach that jumped way too quickly. Buffalo was good though. Buffalo was a machine when he was coaching them. But that's a different scenario. I thought he should have stayed more northeast. You get to, and then you get your time in. I thought St. John's was the perfect fit for Bobby Hurley. You know what I mean? That's a place where you can go to, get your stuff together, get your program, become a college coaching legend, and really be the bridge to get you over to Duke when Coach K is ready to roll. But I don't think that that's ever going to happen now because the thing is, he's already shown his hand that he's not really that good of a head coach.
The writing's on the wall. If I had anything to do with Arizona State, they were crumbling. And when they lose bad. But when Remy Martin leaves, I would have known right then. I would have pulled Bobby aside. I would have pulled the staff aside, said, hey, guys, what's going on? Your leading scorer, one of your best players, and now is jumping ship to go to Kansas. I know that's what these kids do. When the going gets tough, they leave. They don't work harder. They now just leave to a greener pasture. So this, hands down, will, unless a miracle happens, will be Bobby's last year at Arizona State, hands down.
Yes, sir. I definitely believe that. All right, let's talk about Pacers, Celtics. Your Celtics. Everybody in Celtic land they're kind of sad right now because they think that the Celtics aren't doing enough. And you know what? I gotta agree. I think that the Celtics, you know, we talk about this like literally every Monday because it's like they play every Monday. So pretty much, I don't want to be long about this one. I like the Pacers tonight to go ahead and get themselves a nice little upset over here at the TD Garden. So what are your thoughts real quick on your Celtics stuff?
Celtics up and down. A lot of Green Nation haters, and they should be. I don't know how many times I got to come on your show, Pops, and say this team, you're not going to win with Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You're not with. They can't play together. So you what do? Kyrie comes here, Kyrie leaves. You fire the head coach and bring him upstairs. Danny Ainge leaves. Now as the GM of Utah. You bring in Udoka. It's not working, guys. You have to finally decide who you're going to trade and get it done. As for this game right here, 51% of the tickets, 70% of the money on the Celtics. Opened at 5.5, now 6.5. Public play Celtics under over opened at 215, now down to 212.5. Pops. 70% of the tickets, 92% of the money, all on the under, and that's why it has dropped 3.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and talk about the NBA Finals from the shortened season that year, and it's going to be the Knicks and the Spurs. And I remember the Knicks made that magical run as a seed all the way to the finals just to lose 4-1 to the San Antonio Spurs. And the Spurs will go on to win their first ever NBA title. So pretty much the Knicks have been pretty much snake bitten ever since. So the Knicks tonight at the Garden. They've already beat the Spurs this year. They blew them out on the road earlier this year. So tonight, the way that the Spurs are going right now, the Spurs are playing really bad basketball, especially on the road. So the Knicks have played some pretty good ball, and they really took it to your Celtics the other night as well too. So I think that tonight they'll go ahead and keep their pace going. You know, keep the flow going a little bit. I think that the new year has refreshed him a little bit, especially after what Julius Randle did to the New York Garden crowd. So it is what it is. He got fined $25,000 for it, but hey, that's just New York stuff, you know, Jeff. But at the end of the day, though, I do like the Knicks tonight a lot in this game. I think they win it by double digits or better. Your thoughts?
You're right. Knicks came back from 25 against the Celtics to beat them at the buzzer. The bank was open at MSG. They come back to earth and they come over to Boston and lose by 20. This is a game where the public loves the Spurs. 60% of the bets, 60% of the money, all on San Antonio. Line opened at 6.5. Still 6.5 at Circa, a flat 6 at the rest of the Vegas Strip. An under over where 80% of the bets are on the under, but 60% of the money is on the over. It opened up at 214.5 and is 212.5 straight across the Vegas Strip. So some reverse line movement on the under 212.5 pop.
All right, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go ahead and jump into this next game, which is going to be the 76ers and the Rockets. The 76ers and the Rockets. These two teams going in two different directions. The Rockets had a nice little point in time in December where they won a nice amount of games, covered about 10 games in a row, all that good stuff. I never thought they were turning a corner or anything. They just were having a lot of fun at that moment. But one thing I like about the Rockets, they're a team that is only bad because they don't have the talent to be good yet. You know what I mean? They have a lot of potential to be good, but they're not good yet. And Jason Tate has to get a little bit more love from everybody in the NBA as one of the more harder working players in the league that nobody even talks about. Every time I see the Rockets playing, Jason Tate is doing something super big for that team, all in all. But you know that they're only going to talk about the puppies all the time, Jeff. But Jason Tate was probably the best player, one of my top 10 players I've ever seen play for the Ohio State Buckeyes, to be honest with you, because he was a gamer. He's a guy that comes to play. And so pretty much I just want to send some love, send a shout out to him real quick, because they don't talk about Jason Tate enough. But when we talk about this game tonight, the Rockets have been having a little issue, giving up a lot of points, but not scoring a lot of points. And the 76ers are a top 5 defense in the league. This is their type of game where they can shut things down, and they'll sacrifice scoring points to get stops and rebounds. And I think they're going to go about that tonight in Houston, because you can't look at the spread and say, okay, we got, let's take the 11. No, I never want to take an 11.5 point spread on a road team. No, I don't care who it is. It could be the Jesus All-Stars. I'm not doing it, Jeff. So pretty much over under 226.5, and there it is. And 76ers and the Rockets tonight. So I like the under, Jeff.
A Philly team that's putting it together. A Philly, this game opened at 10.5, 61% of the bets, 79% of the money, all coming in on the 76ers. Yet it's dropped to 10. So some reverse line movement to the Rockets plus the 10. You're under over 53% of the bets on the under, and 88% of the bets on the 88% of the money is on the over. Opened at 226.5, now down to 226. There is 226.5 at South Point and Caesars right now. So it looks like some reverse line movement on the Rockets plus the 10, and a tad of reverse line movement on the under. One quick question, 10 seconds, pause. You trade Ben Simmons straight up for Jaylen Brown?
You know what? To make just so everybody can just go on down the road over there in Boston. Yep. Because then you have yourself a distributor in that player as well too. So I would say, yeah, that wouldn't be too bad of an idea to go ahead and do that.
Okay. I agree. The rumor was they wanted Brown and Smart, and there had to be a third team, and Buddy Hield's being talked about. But at this point, if I'm the Celtics, and if it wasn't, Brad Stevens, and if it wasn't Kyrie, then who is it? And it's not going to work. So yes, I would trade even Smart and Brown, and I would get Ben Simmons, and I would go from there.
Yeah, I think that the Ben Simmons trade is inevitable. We know that, and I think that is happening soon, before we get to All-Star break. But it's going to be something very significant, and we're all going to be we're not going to be too surprised by it, but it's going to be on a team that's not going to be a team that's like, about to go win a championship or anything like that. I think that they're gonna really torture Ben here and send him somewhere where like a Siberia type situation. To be honest with you, you know what I mean. But we'll see how it goes.
Well, that's it. The fact is, that's why the third team is Sacramento. So they're going to ship him to Sacramento, and Buddy Hield's going to be a part of the deal. That's why they're going to send him to Siberia. Trust me.
Well, Buddy Hield, if Buddy Hield's a part of the deal, then I would want to see Buddy Hield wind up in I would really like to see Buddy Hield wind up in Philadelphia. He deserves to wind up in Philadelphia. But I think that he's a better fit with you guys because at the end of the day, he won't take away as much from Tatum. But the thing is, though, when Tatum's out of the game, he'll help this team be a better defensive team. And they'll be able to run a little bit more when you got Buddy Hield in the game because Buddy Hield moves that ball around. That's the whole thing. And he's a spot up shooter. He's not the type of shooter that needs to create his shot. So it will work in a sense. It's almost like adding a Glenn Rice type to your team. And I think that's kind of what the doctor might be ordering right now for the Boston Celtics.
Glenn Rice, the big dog. And then you said the doctor ordered and you had the 76ers up there. Man, Pops, you're right on it today.
Yeah, but the big dog is Glenn Robinson. You know that. Glenn Rice is the
Glenn Rice. That's okay.
Glenn Rice. Oh, I'm Mr. Glenn Rice. My wife is gonna complain, and then I get removed from the Lakers. Look, after we won the championship, why was the nail in the coffin? Because Glenn Rice we like Glenn Rice in LA, but we weren't very impressed because he didn't do what he was really brought here to do. Because a lot of people were very emotionally attached to Eddie Jones. Okay. It's just that simple, all right? A lot of people loved Eddie Jones. And so pretty much when Glenn Rice came, it was like, we had to give a lot to get you, and you don't be doing, like we need you to really show up and do what you got to do. And he didn't show up the first year. You know what I mean? That first year, the Lakers went without Eddie and Nick. You thought, okay, they got Glenn Rice with Kobe and Shaq. This should work. Because now they have their shooter, and it didn't work. So they come back the next season, and it worked. So pretty much then you get this then Glenn Rice, has never been paid big money in the NBA. You know what I mean? So his wife blurps out after the Lakers this is 5 minutes after the Lakers have won the championship. Well, now it's time to go ahead and pay him some more money and re-sign his contract. Next thing you know, Jeff, this guy was playing for the New York Knicks, and it was over. Because, see, the Knicks went to being sorry right after this championship situation. I talked about the great moment with the Knicks, blah, 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 blah. That's when the sorriness of the Knicks started, 99, 2000, 22 years ago. And so, all in all, at the end of the day, the moral of the story is sometimes you just got to have your woman in check, bro, when it comes to your business, to your job. You have to be like Michael Corleone. You know what I mean? I never talked about my job with you. You know what I mean? That old adage.
Well, I'll just
talk about my work.
I was more of a Glenn Rice fan in Michigan. I enjoyed watching him in college. He was spun up, and boy, he could drain the three. They were so fun to watch back then. Had a good pro career, but again, I when I think of Glenn Rice, I think of Michigan, and the same with the big dog Glenn Robinson. I think of Purdue and what he did in college. I'm a big damn college freak. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, Pops, but I can tell you who started in '84 for the Hoyas.
Right. Well, man, that's the beautiful thing about college hoops, and that's why I keep saying that these kids have no legacy now. That's why the game is stuck where it's at, because they're not sticking around in college long enough to really build a name for themselves. And then they get to the NBA and they don't pan out. They're absolute nobody, and everybody just moves on. There's so many new names in the NBA. Look, I used to know every person in the NBA and what they were doing on that roster, foreigner or college student, whatever. I had some idea who they were, but now sometimes I look up and I'm saying, who's this guy and who's that guy and who's this guy? And he didn't go to Michigan, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, he did. But the thing was, though, they've never built themselves up. They've never built a legacy. You know what I mean? They didn't build their name up the way that they should have. You know what I mean? Like, let me give you a great example. A guy who can go anywhere in Southern California and probably get himself a discount or a free meal. Tracy Murray. Okay, Tracy Murray's from my hometown, Pasadena, California. And Tracy moved to Glendora when he was in high school. He, instead of going to the illustrious John Muir that produced the Stacey Augman, Jock Vaughn, all those All-Americans and things of that nature, he decided to go. He moved to Glendora. He played in a whole new element of us Pasadena guys, because Pasadena is a heavy hoop city. So he goes over there. He has a great time. He becomes one of the great scorers in Southern California history. Goes off to UCLA, builds up a great name over at UCLA. He goes to the NBA, has a decent NBA career, 10, 12 seasons. He never became an all-star or anything like that, but he was able to have his name. So when Tracy Murray walks into any room when it comes to high school basketball, college basketball, pro basketball in Los Angeles, everybody knows who Tracy Murray is. You know what I mean? And he wasn't a superstar in the NBA, but he built a name, and that's my point. Same thing goes for Casey Jacobson, Jason Capono as well too. These are guys that are just from my local area that I know that have names and can walk in anywhere in California. People know who they are. You know what I mean? And really can walk into any of those states that house these Pac-12 schools, and people know who they are.
No, I agree. That's the sad part, is that, and I feel for the coaches, and it's not said enough, is the fact that when you're a big-time coach or any one of these coaches, it's all about recruiting. And I talked about that with you last week, is all these other colleges looking up to Nick and kissing the rings. He's winning the recruiting battle. So
Right.
it's so nice, when these college coaches in basketball go out and they're trying to recruit these kids, they don't know if they're one and done, a la Calipari, or can you get them to stay for 2 years? Or back in the days, it was fun to watch them grow and progress, the Duke teams of the world, and the old Kansases, the old Michigan State teams, Mateen Cleaves and all these guys that would come in as a freshman, get better as a sophomore, and their junior and senior year, they'd shine. That's what it's all about right there.
Right. And, because everybody was a phenom coming into college back in the day. It did not matter. Oh, my God, this guy did this and that in high school. And you know what? When they got to in college basketball in the 80s, you know what the key word used to be? And I got 4 other guys that did that. I got 4 other Mr. Ohio basketballs on the team. Okay? What makes you so special? You know what I mean? And I think what Michael Jordan, what he did was he gave the facade that the upperclassmen could be the difference in something. But he was an upperclassman that played with one of the greatest college basketball lineups that you could ever play with. You know what I mean? Everybody talks about Jordan's shot, but nobody talks about the great season that James Worthy had. James Worthy had a historic year that year. James Worthy was the number 1 pick in the draft that summer to the Los Angeles Lakers. So, all he did was keep going to great programs. But you walk around anywhere in North Carolina, everybody know James Worthy, his third cousin, his great grandmama, everybody. Everybody has an idea who you are. You know what I mean? So, even if James Worthy didn't become a great Laker, they still would have knew we still know who James Worthy is. That's my key point about the old ways of your rites of passage to the top level to the new way of your rites of passage. You know what I mean? If you go and have a windmill dunk at an AAU event, oh my God, he's the next coming. You know what I mean? But they never knew that the guy couldn't play any defense. You know what I mean? And my last little person I'm going to call out, and we'll talk about these last 2 games. Seven Woods, remember him? North Carolina. This kid was seen as it was almost like hoop dreams the way that they were covering this kid. The way that, oh my God, he's a stellar athlete. I don't know what it could be when he gets to North Carolina. What's it gonna be when he gets to North Carolina? That guy didn't even start. So that shows you right there that Roy Williams was the last of a dying breed when it comes to coaches. He didn't do any entitlement for his freshmen. You had to earn your spot. And I think that's where college coaches need to get back in tune with the idea that now the NBA is poaching the best players to come to the G League early anyway. You know what I mean? So now you have to really make these guys earn their spot.
And I'll close with this: the NILs, the payment plans now for these kids. There was something floating on Twitter late last week, and they talked about the up-and-coming stars and what they're looking and probably what their worth is. And Bronny was $6.1 million. Can you imagine this now? Kid, high school, AAU, going to play 1 year in college somewhere, and someone's going to pay him $6.1 million.
And I know LeBron does what he likes to do and everything like that. But if LeBron would do the best thing for his son and advise his son to stay in college as long as possible, you know what I mean? Have fun with it. Do something that I didn't do and try to become a legend at this situation, because you running to the NBA does not guarantee that you're going to be a great player right away. But if you go over here and stick it out for 3 years in college or 2 years in college, you can come to the NBA, be a polished product, and it won't be so much, LeBron's your dad. You know what I mean? It can be more about Bronny. You know what I mean? If he doesn't follow in the footsteps as tough. If he just goes ahead and says, you know what, I'm going to go over here and play over at USC, or I'm going to go over here and play at Ohio State like my dad wanted to, but I'm going to go do that. You know what I mean? And I don't think that he needs to be that enticed by the NBA, knowing that he grew up pretty much a millionaire his whole life.
Well, that's the whole thing. And as soon as LeBron says that, he goes, Dad, you're my idol. You're my father. I'm going to follow in your footsteps. And meanwhile, Carmelo, freshman at Syracuse, the deal was LeBron and Carmelo were playing together for 1 year in college. And Melo goes to Syracuse, wins a national title, and LeBron goes to the NBA. And right. So Bronny's going to say, hey, Dad, you did it. I want to follow in your footsteps. Unless someone, because money's not an issue. We know that. So unless someone in college, Ohio State, USC, UCLA's got a bag with $5-6 million and Dad's retired, I don't know. It's crazy though. When I saw that 6.1, I think the next closest one was like 2.1 and the rest were around $1 million.
Right. And it's all, and see, the value of it is all about just who he is. It's not about his skill level or anything like that. So if you're an NIL company, just know what you're signing up for. You're just signing up for a big ad push. That's all that is, man. And what's called pretty much, I'm gonna be doing a little, I know a little bit. I'm starting to learn a little bit more about them. I'm reading about them every single day myself. So, pretty much we'll see how this thing works. But let's go ahead and finish up these games, get the talking tickets. Beautiful, beautiful stuff as well, too, Jeff. I know that we really pretty much went off off topic, but you know what? We just had to get that out there to the people, though. They had to hear that, Nets, Blazers. This is a fun one. Kyrie's going to be the story tonight. We both know this. They're going to even show the game possibly on whatever network is showing games tonight. I think it's going to be NBA TV. So we know that everybody's going to get a chance to watch this game. So I really truly think that Dame is going to show up like he always does against the big boys and get himself a nice little win, a nice little cover here with the +9.5. I do like the Blazers in the spot. What are your thoughts?
Quickly, the line opened at 10.5. 58% of the bets, 50% of the money, all coming into Portland. It has now dropped to 10. There is a 9.5 at Westgate and a flat 9 at our friends at South Point. So money coming in on the Blazers, Pops.
Money coming in on the Blazers. So everybody kind of getting the same idea about the Blazers that I am. And I'm going to keep it real with you, Jeff. Everybody's getting like that because it is. I got that feeling because we got ourselves a national championship game tonight. It's a Moody Monday, brother. And Moody Mondays can go any way because we have a college basketball schedule that's not catering to Power 5 today either. We got a college basketball schedule that's more as catering to the small schools, and you got some value in that department as well, too. And we'll get into that when we get into talking tickets. So we move on. Let's talk about the Cavs and the Kings in this nightcapper game. And the Cavs coming off of a loss last night to the Warriors. It was the return of Clay. It was literally like a homecoming game for the Warriors last night. But all in all, do not overthink this thing with the Cavaliers. They're still legit. They're still a damn good team at the end of the day. But I think that the NBA is starting to catch up with them a little bit and starting to figure out that, you guys got these bigs and everything like that, but can these bigs come out here and stick us, though? That's the whole thing. But when it comes to taking anything in the paint against the Cavs, that's going to be pretty difficult because they have a true Twin Tower situation going with Mobley and with Jarrett. So pretty much I think at the end of the day, The Cavs should win this game, but I think this game is more of a game you look at and say, we're going to be playing the under here. So because I just really feel like the Cavs are going to keep this game feasible today. It's not going to get crazy today. You know what I mean? They're not going to give the Kings the opportunity to just keep driving to the rack. I think there's going to be a lot of missed jump shots in this game. Jeff, thoughts?
Cleveland opened at 4.5, 73% of the bets, 88% of the money, all coming in on the Cavs. That is now 5.5 across the Vegas Strip. Your under/over opened at 218.5. 53% of the bets on the under, 71% of the money on the over. It has now jumped to 219 and a hook pops all across the Vegas Strip.
All right, there it is. So I love the under. Everybody loves the over because they know the Kings have been a good over team this year. But I think that the Cavs have done enough when it comes down to trusting them in games of this situation as well, too. So there it is. There it is. Let's go ahead and jump into Talkin Tickets. And Talkin Tickets, we got ourselves a good little group here today as well, too. So I really do like it, Jeff. And our first group is going to be this. It's going to be the PrimeTime PK6. I'm going to roll with Illinois, Chicago, UIC. They've been off for a few weeks as well, too, because of COVID situations within the program. But they are probably the best team coming out of the horizon this year other than Cleveland State. So I expect a showdown between these teams when they meet up this year. And that will be a big, smaller schools game for us bettors as well, too. And then you have East Tennessee State as well, too, in that spot. I think they're coming in there really well. And, East Tennessee State is always a really, really trusted team as well, too. They've played really good basketball over the last 5 years or so. So they always have a pretty good team intact every single year. So I like ETSU going into this game. Also, Grambling today in the HBCU game. I like them on the road to cover, but to also most like, but that's for the win though too. Me and Jeff both know that. When you got +2 there, just put the money line right. But in these little smaller school games, they don't really. Some books don't want to put money lines for these. They just make you do the points because it's considered an extra game on the book. So it's okay. So we have Omaha as well too, Jeff, +9.5 today as well. In their Summit League game. So that should be pretty good. And then we got North Dakota is my big dog today in their South Dakota, North Dakota game. And I love them with the +215. And yes, I know that I'm putting a little bit more extra change on it, but it's going to probably fall down to about -9.5, -9.80, something like that. But I just kind of want to throw this into the PK6 so we don't have to worry about the -4.5. We just go and take the straight up win from Oregon. So there it is. It's 63-1 on that ticket right there. Single what you like. Jeff, are there any things that you see there that intrigue you the most?
Well, the Oregon State game especially is that Oregon opened at 6.5. Both schools have been off for a while due to COVID. 58% of the bets, 62% of the money, all coming in on Oregon. Yet the line has dropped to all the way down to 4.5 at the Vegas Strip, 4 at DraftKings. It is 5 at Hail Caesars. So the line's bouncing around from 4.5, 5 to a flat 4. So keep an eye on that one. Reverse line movement definitely on Oregon State. Both teams coming off big wins against Utah. Should be an interesting game. I personally lean Oregon State on the reverse line movement, but I definitely know this is usually about the time the Ducks get quacking. So good spot for the Ducks to win, Pops.
All right. So let's go ahead and check out the NBA Super High Five. I already kind of went over it with you. I got the Pacers money line as my dog of the day, +220. Also have the Knicks -6 today. Also going with the under 226 with the Sixers and the Rockets. Also doing the +9 with the Blazers today, and also doing the over 219 with the Cavs and the Kings. 41-1 today. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that?
I really like the Knicks. I think they're starting to catch their stride coming off a loss at Boston. I like the Knicks really to take care of business. You are getting some movement on the Blazers, as we just talked about. As you say in our boys at Cameo, single.
What you like?
Life.
All right, so there is 41-1. And here goes my CFP bets. I know y'all been waiting on these. All right, me and Jeff are facing off tonight. I'm going Bama money line plus 120. And then, as I said before, I expect this game to be a defensive juggernaut of a game. I think this game is going to wind up being like the LSU Alabama game that finished up. What was it, Jeff? Was it 9-0 that year? When
Something like that.
Played, it was 9-0. Everybody thought it was going to be the greatest scoring game of all time, and Alabama just turned it into a absolute, old school Bear Bryant type shutout. So I like Bama in this spot plus 120. And I also like the under 26.5. I like Bama in the first quarter for if it's tied, then we can go ahead and cash a ticket, or they can be up by a point or better. And then we also have Georgia going under 27.5 tonight. I think that Georgia's offense is going to have the same woes it had a few weeks back, but their defense is not going to be as easy to break. And I'm going to say like this: if their defense shows up and shows out, I'm going to be very disappointed in that team, because they should have did that in the championship game, so we wouldn't have to be stuck with Alabama here anyway. So it is what it is at the end of the day. And pretty much, let's see how it goes. Let's see how it shakes out. But we got Alabama, the number 1 team in the nation, going against Georgia, the number 3 team in the nation. And man, boy, oh boy, let the heads roll tonight. SEC, the spotlight is on you once again.
Definitely a face-off. My plus 800, plus 600 tickets from August and September alive. Easy hedge play if I wanted to. Mattress Mac all in on your Bama. You just said something, though, that just kind of hit me. Alabama is where they ranked?
Number
where
1.
Alabama ranked? Number 1?
Mm-hmm.
And they're 3-point underdogs. So just remember that. Alabama's ranked number 1 in the country, and they're 3-point underdogs. That's
Right. And you know what? And another fun fact is, and I know I'm gambling right here because I know this for a fact, when has Bama went back-to-back? Yeah, they haven't went back-to-back. Yeah, they've won multiple national championships in the Saban era, but when did they go back-to-back? That's the biggest question. I haven't seen it yet. So,
and listen, it's a free bingo square. Like I said, everyone's out there. It's almost like the Super Bowl when you got your next door neighbor crashing your party, saying, "Hey, where can I get $50 on the game?" They don't know who's playing. They just want action. So this is a championship game. Everyone's crawling out of the woodwork, and their first thing is like, "I can take Alabama. You're giving me plus 3 points, and you're giving me plus 125 on the money line. Where do I sign up?" It's a free bingo card. And the fact is, listen, a couple weeks ago, Oregon got their smacked by Utah. Okay. And then you get the revenge game in the Pac-12 championship game, and Utah just smacked them again. So listen, Nick owns Georgia. He owns Kirby. So there could be a lot of eggs on the face. And I mean, like, how could you not take Bama? It's free money. And so I'm kind of just sitting here, just minding my P's and Q's. And if I shut my phone off at around 11:30 and I don't talk to you for a few days, you know why?
All right. And, hey, it's all good, baby. It's all good. But you know what, though, at the end of the day, my heart of hearts deep down inside, and I know this sounds like it's just like you playing both sides of the fence, but my heart of heart deep down inside says, I would really like to see the Georgia Bulldogs pull this one off, to be honest with you. All right. And that's why I said that the best bet here is just the scoreboard watch.
And let's win one for Vince. Let's win one for Herschel.
Yeah, man. Win one for Stafford. Win one for AJ.
Win one for Justin Fields.
Right. Win one for Justin Fields, the guy that would have got you a national championship if you didn't have the silly baseball player run his mouth. You know what I mean? That dude's just awful. Everybody at the school should have jumped him after that. Seriously. All right. Well, we've talked enough. We've bored y'all. We've done our thing. All right. We done put it down as we always do on Mondays. We went a little bit longer, but we started a little bit later. But we had to have our Monday talk as well too. Talking business as well. So, my man, the Don of Cape Cod, any last thoughts before we end this?
It's football season. It's playoff season. It's going to be the Super Bowl in the middle of February. It's an Olympic year, conference championships, March Madness, hopefully the first pitch of baseball, the Masters. The point is, this is the last college game of the year. Enjoy it. Have some fun. It's the start of a new week. Don't go crazy. There's a lot of times when myself and Pop say, score mode watch, popcorn, grab a popcorn, go get a hot dog, go get a cold one in the fridge, put your feet up, stress-free, enjoy the game. Don't worry about the pick six or the miss extra point or whatever. Have some fun. Sports is fun. These are kids. Have some fun. Take a breath.
Right. And remember, tomorrow you still got to go to work. So we don't go too crazy tonight, all right? It's just college football. It's just college sports. All right. So it's just a kid's game. All right. So thank you so much, Jeff. Will you be joining us Friday when I do the actual playoff preview? Or can I get you Thursday?
Friday. That's a good question. I know I have 2 shows, but I tell you what, I think we could squeeze in a 3 to 3:30. I think so. Yeah. Make sure you check in on Thursday, and I think we can squeeze one in. A little debut for 2022 for everyone.
All right, cool. Say that'd be fun to talk about the playoffs and everything like that Friday. Maybe get into the weekend of what's going to go on college basketball as well too.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, and there it is. This is the premier sports betting show, the Primetime Angles, live with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the Primetime Capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Mr. Jeff Dawson. And this is, as I always say, bet with your head, not with your heart. And if you got a hunch, bet a bunch. And the movement is moving. And pretty much as I always do, we better do. And we are gone.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.